All right, I don't normally show where I'm staying just because it's not something I really care that much about documenting typically, but I'm ending my Korea trip here in Busan and I had to show the place I'm staying at because look at this view. Oh man, it's Hyundai Beach, the main beach here. That is stunning. Look at that color. Oh my goodness. I got a little desk. I do actually need to do some stuff on the computer, like editing these vlogs. So it's gonna be a treat to end my time in Korea here and just the window's open. I can feel the ocean breeze coming in. It's a beautiful place. I was slightly hesitant about staying in this area because it's a little bit further from the main neighborhoods. But now with this view, all of those hesitations are vanishing. This is delightful. Oh, I just had to film my live reaction. How cool is this? All right, after spending a little bit of time enjoying the view, doing some tasks on my computer, I'm out and about exploring Busan. And now to round out my time in Korea, I'm just so grateful that I've been able to go to Seoul first, obviously a massive city, the capital, then go to Gyeongju, which is ancient capital, very traditional. And now I'll be able to contrast it with Busan, which is another amazing large city on the coast. So just excited to check it out for myself and see what sticks and how I experience it. Even though I still have, 4 more days here in South Korea, I'm legitimately already so sad to be leaving. I mean, for one, I've just had a delightful time here, had so many great interactions with people. The food has been amazing, exploring has been nice, but the weather has just been literally perfect, literally amazing. And now there's the ocean breeze. And where I'm going next, the weather is not going to be so favorable, at least in the beginning of my time there. And that's okay. But I'm just feeling extra grateful for how perfect it is. Like I've talked about before, it's just weather has such a massive impact on mood, and it's not something I take for granted. So just going to be extra present while I'm here and appreciating it. I cannot believe how peaceful it is here. Very minimal crowds. Just listening to the ocean waves. It's just breezy enough. You can hear the birds chirping in the distance. I'm just so glad I was able to come here to Busan, the second largest city in South Korea, and experience South Korea from yet another perspective. This is delightful. Just a nice evening walk as the sun is setting. Especially as I've been solo traveling, I've really been prioritizing my mindfulness practice in taking moments to just really be as present as possible. And it might seem ironic because I'm recording a video, but when I'm recording videos, it's only a very small snippet of my actual experience, right? And what I mean by that is just taking moments to breathe, to listen to my senses, to count out my breath, to feel my breath, and do whatever it takes to practice being focused so that I could take in the stimulus, because traveling can be exhausting. You're constantly taking in so much stimulus. And one of the benefits of traveling solo has been the added flexibility to just take it easy and to just stop and just really sit with myself and just try to be as present as possible. And especially appreciating views like this. This is amazing. I feel chills right now. I'm just so grateful to be able to experience this, to be present and alive in this moment. You know, life has its ups and downs, but whenever we can, just being present, being more aware, can help us relax our nervous systems and ground ourselves in what really matters. So I'm feeling it right now, and yeah, it's just a great start to this Busan trip and nice way to close out my time in South Korea. But yeah, it's just all been a beautiful practice, the solo travel, to just try to be a little bit more present. It is a practice after all, and there's many ways to practice that, but it's something that I'm working on, but it'll be a continuous journey, that's for sure. All right, I climbed up to the top of Donbaek Island, and in the park here in Donbaek Park, there's a statue of somebody, and I don't know who this person was. So I looked him up, and his name is Cho Chi-wan. He was a Confucian scholar, and one of the reasons he's important is because he's accredited to playing a major role in introducing Confucian philosophies from China to Korea, and in many ways he seems to have been a bridge between a lot of Chinese influence and Korea, to the point where a lot of his poetry and writings are still studied today. You might be asking, how was I able to get that much information so quickly? Or maybe not. But I thought this was a good time to share a little bit of a funny thing I've been doing while traveling solo when I don't have a tour guide with me. Oftentimes I'll just have an AirPod in and I will open the Chat GPT app. If you're not familiar with Chat GPT, then you're probably living under a rock, but it's generative AI that pulls from information all over the internet, right? And basically what I do is I just ask the model, I basically, as I'm walking through a new place, I'll describe where I am and suggest the model to act as a travel guide in that area and have it describe the importance of, specific landmarks that I'm looking at. And what's really cool about this is it's almost like a personal tour guide at times whenever I'm not in a broader tour, whenever I'm just individually roaming around, and it's interactive where I can ask specific questions. So it's been a really fun use case while I'm traveling. And usually I actually don't have high-speed data while I'm traveling. I just have the T-Mobile default plan, but I've been using an app called Airalo. I'm not sponsored, but yeah, you can use my code below for $3 off. That's just like a normal referral code. And I'll check out this temple behind me. And that's just been clutch. It hasn't been particularly expensive, but just having high-speed data, I have had to be more mindful about not being on my phone just in transit, for example. But it's just been so helpful, especially pulling up ChatGPT to get a little bit more context in an interactive way. Granted, I do think a lot of times going on a tour is nice because then you can, be in a group and have a tour guide. But this has been a really fun little use case of generative AI. It looks like Hyundai Beach, one of the most popular spots here in Busan. So popular for good reason. There's a bunch of musicians playing. The beach is absolutely pristine. Everyone's walking and having a good time. Literally feels like Waikiki Beach in Hawaii. It's big, it's wide, it has a skyline in the back. The sunset is just absolutely stunning. It's a real treat. Just been taking it in. Yeah, sat down and listened to some of the musicians. Talk about being present. It's especially easy when the environment's like this. And lastly, for now, as it pertains to that discussion about ChatGPT and using it as a personal interactive tour guide, that just really is reflective of the crazy times that we live in terms of technology and how many barriers that reduces when it comes to travel. Like often as a solo traveler the last few weeks, I'll just plop myself into a given city and just figure it out. Granted, I'll do planning beforehand and know generally what I'm doing. But nowadays, with roaming data, with your cell phone, you can have easy access to a map. You can translate anything on a whim simply by taking a picture of text or by live translating your voice. It's incredible. I just imagine, whenever air travel commercially became more popular following World War II and the, 10, 20 years following, it must have been so different to not really be able to communicate other than to have a guidebook or some sort of like translation book and to just figure it out. And that's not to say that over-reliance on technology is necessarily a good thing. I think it's certainly a balance, but it's just crazy times we live in when at any given moment you can just understand so much about your surroundings using technology. And it's a tool, right? The key is to use it more than it uses you, which is always the hard part when it comes to using technology, especially with social media. But the use and the integration of these technologies in our lives, especially as it pertains to augmented reality and using data to understand our environment, is only going to continue over the next 5 to 10 years. Crazy times we live in. Woke up and wasn't quite feeling up to par because I didn't sleep that well, unfortunately. It happens. And I was going to go in the city, but decided to retreat out to the mountains and went to Byomyosa Temple to do this hike to the highest peak in Busan. And what a way to spend the day, just to get a panoramic view of the landscape and just to see Busan peeking out in the corner. Takes your breath away. It's pretty surreal to be up here and to have a vantage point of the geography here, just really getting a sense of how mountainous it is alongside the water and the coastline. And it's really beautiful looking out, seeing the depth of color in the trees and seeing the fall colors start to set in and just the hint of color just peering through the trees. It's really beautiful from up here. And I think it's especially surreal just being reminded that you're alone in another country when you're on the top of a peak like this, just taking a moment to really ground on another level. it's cool, and I'm glad that I get the chance to document this and remember moments like this. I mentioned in the previous clip that I wasn't really feeling my best when I woke up today, and that's still kind of the case. Just feeling a little foggy, just out of it. Even this morning when I was eating some soup, I felt like I was just clumsy, and it just happens, some days when you don't sleep well and you don't wake up on the right side of the bed. That happens to the best of us, right? And especially as I'm traveling, it's noticeable because in my day-to-day life, when I have more consistency in my routines and my diet especially, it's much more consistent in regular life. I'm not eating, in the same way that I'm eating when I'm traveling, especially with the leeway that I give myself to try different foods, especially like fried foods in Korea, for example. All that to say that in my daily life, I am more structured in my approach to try to be as clear-headed as possible most of the time. And so in traveling, it's an adjustment to let go and ride the swings up and down, knowing that it's unrealistic to expect that I'm going to be feeling my best. But honestly, I'm really trying my best to embrace it because life is not perfect. Like, I think about, God willing, in the future, if and when I have kids, I'd love to have kids one day, and I'm not going to be sleeping well when I have a toddler, right? So I need to be mentally prepared to still be confident, to perform, and to know that, I can handle any situation even when I'm not feeling my best. And I've proven that already to myself at this point in my adult life, but it's helpful to, continually build resilience. And as I'm traveling solo and really observing my mental state through some of the mindfulness I mentioned, there's been a lot of external observation and internal observation of just seeing how I react to certain situations. And I've just had a lot of space to process and been doing a lot of journaling. And I'm really just trying to take this as an opportunity to better learn about myself and deal with difficult situations and some of the isolation that comes with solo travel. Not to say that I've been particularly lonely. I've actually been having a pretty great time. But all that to say, just dealing with the challenges to better grow, to be more resilient, and to be able to embrace when I'm not feeling my best and still be willing to take on challenges head on. One of the challenging parts about traveling solo in Korea is that with all the side plates and restaurants, you just end up with so much food. And so I just got this sashimi plate, but they just brought out a complimentary fish soup as well. And this is just absurd to be one person with just so much food surrounding me. It's in Busan, it's meant to be like a social thing, sharing, and I'm solo traveling right now. And I definitely could, go out of my way to meet people, but I know in my next legs of my travel, I'm going to be very social. So I've been kind of embracing this solo time, but it's just been ironic, being in these situations where I end up with so much food as a result, but it tastes so good. So I'm not really complaining. It's just funny. Yeah, look at this. Look how much food this is. And then this fish soup, man. Insane. All right, I had to pop into the market to try some extra fresh seafood. The sashimi I just had was insanely fresh, just completely melted in your mouth. But I literally just saw them pull out this octopus from the tank, and yeah, it's on another level. I love octopus. It's definitely not for everyone, but I find it has such a unique texture. You dip it in this sauce. Yeah, it's still chewy, but with how fresh it is, as you chew into it, it just feels so light. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And I have some abalone here. I've actually never had abalone, but similar to mussels, and my parents, they were actually in South Korea fairly recently, and they said I had to try some, so I'm gonna record myself trying it for the first time. I don't know if I should try it without sauce. Maybe without sauce for the first time. Yeah, that's really nice. It's similar to mussels, but it's a lot more meaty, and it's very chewy. But as you bite into it, yeah, similar to the octopus, it just comes apart super easy to finish chewing. And yeah, it's much different texture. You see they cut like little slices into it here. Yeah, it's really unique. I'm glad I tried it. It's cool. I mean, you literally see them, pull it out of the tank in front of you. So I don't know if you can get too much fresher than this, other than if you're like literally on the fishing boat, perhaps. It's insane. Sometimes it feels like the longer you sit in a restaurant or eating somewhere in South Korea, the more food they bring out. Literally just brought out a bowl of what I think is, it's kind of like an egg drop soup. But I gotta say, the more of this abalone I eat, the more I enjoy the texture. I don't know if it's just because it's so fresh, but if you like mussels, wow, this is amazing. It's just, yeah, it's meaty, it's thick, but it's so easy to chew. It just comes apart. It's amazing. I'm so glad I tried this. So yeah, if you come to Busan, you gotta try some abalone. If you like mussels, that is. But I would hope if you come to Busan, you like all sorts of seafood, because I will say throughout South Korea, whether in Seoul or Gyeongju, all of the seafood I had generally was very fresh, great price. But you know, Busan, it's a major port city, so trying it here, it's on another level. Behind me is the Gamcheon Culture Village, which is historically a very important area in Busan. So back in the Korean War, this is a place of refuge, and Busan in general was a really important landmark during the Korean War because it was one of the last legs of defense for South Korea before they were able to bounce back and push the North Korean forces back northward. But in general, so this was actually a very poor area that was very densely populated. As you can see, the cascading buildings behind me. But in 2009, 15 years ago, art students and locals, they gathered together as a part of a government initiative to color these buildings. And it's just a beautiful testament to how artistic expression can be used to turn challenges into something beautiful. I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about art. It's funny, sometimes some of the most difficult emotional challenges lead to some of the most beautiful music produced or some of the most beautiful artwork. You think about, you know, artists like Van Gogh, etc. And so I think this is a perfect example of that, and really a symbol of not only Busan but Korean resilience in general. Oh, I just did some absolute damage to that meal just now, and there's a lot of food, but only have so much time left in South Korea, so got to take advantage. It was some beef short ribs. It was a tofu soup that also had some seafood, some clams, some shrimp, and also a little fish fillet, and of course the banchan, wild rice, etc. And I just got to say, one thing I just absolutely love about Korean food as well, like I mentioned with the banchan for one, and all of the continuous side plates that come out, that's definitely enjoyable in and of itself. But having all those options, it's so fun trying so many different combinations of foods and the order, especially like with the rice. Sometimes I'll put it in the soup, sometimes I'll just put some gochujang, the spicy sauce, and then I'll put some kimchi on top, and it just keeps the meal so interesting whenever you have so many different varieties of flavors and textures that you can mix and match. And I just really appreciate that. I mean, I'm all for simplicity, especially when I'm cooking at home. I usually keep it pretty simple, but eating out here, I could totally see, you know, in social environments, when you have your KBBQ, just trying out different banchan, different combinations, it just adds a flavor of fun, you know, for lack of a better term. Pun definitely not intended. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'm surprised that they even bother with bringing out water with all of these meals, because it seems like every time you eat out in South Korea, they give you some sort of soup within the set, if you have some sort of set meal that you're eating. And I'm definitely not complaining, because especially the spicy soup, so good. And yeah, keeps the belly nice and full for sure. All right, I just took the cable car down from the suspension bridge that I was on. For the record, very cool, and was very impressed by that engineering. Then I took this bridge behind me all the way across, and earlier you can see behind me was the cultural village with all the painted buildings, and just having a visible perspective of this triangle of different places I've been, I just feel so appreciative of, in modern times, how mobile we are as people. It's actually a thought that I have come and go in different periods, like when I'm in a plane or if I'm going on a long drive in a road trip. But it's such a cool thing that in the modern day we're able to traverse such long distances in such a short amount of time. It seems so unnatural and it's so normalized these days, but just getting an appreciation, especially traveling and solo traveling, I can be very efficient bouncing around. And granted, I do try to slow down and stop and really walk around and appreciate places and really take them in, but it's crazy how much ground you can cover using public transport, using cars. It's something that I think we all probably take for granted in some way or another. So just finding a moment of appreciation for that right now. All right, I'm closing out my time in Busan, unfortunately, walking down Hyundai Beach, and it's actually raining. I'm just taking it, I'm embracing it. You know, earlier when I was walking along this beach, recording, I was talking about technology and how incredible it is that we have these tools to gain information about our environment, especially when traveling and interacting in different languages. But with that, there's a danger of over-reliance, and it's only going to continue to increase as these tools are integrated in our lives. Oh, it's coming down now. And call me crazy. I mean, if I had an umbrella right now, I'd totally be using it. But in my mindfulness practice, I really I enjoy sometimes subjecting myself to uncomfortable situations, usually just in more reasonable situations, like taking a cold shower is a perfect example, and just breathing through it and recognizing that there is a degree of self-sufficiency mentally that can be trained, like the resilience I was talking about earlier. And one of the keys there is just your breath, relaxing your nervous system and focusing on your breath to ground yourself, knowing that the external chaos of the world is crazy sometimes, and it's easy to hide in your shell and just, get stuck in YouTube algorithm loops and scrolling on Instagram. Anyways, now it's really raining and it's definitely not ideal, but all that to say, just looping it back to Busan, I just wanted to say that, 4 days was definitely not enough here. This is a huge city. It's the second largest city in Korea, and there's just so much to do. And I really didn't want to pressure myself to go to every neighborhood because it would have been tough. And I'm about to change over to another country tomorrow. So the fact that it's raining right now, it's honestly still beautiful walking down this beach. But it's a good excuse for me to go back to my Airbnb and relax, do some research, mentally prepare myself, get some good sleep, and just take it easy. This is funny. Yeah, I'm just getting drenched, but luckily I did also work out today. Today was a good self-care day. Didn't really film anything, but went and got a haircut, went to the gym, did laundry, the nice, the important things that you need to do to sustain yourself while traveling. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed my time in Busan and Korea in general. I'm really glad I was able to spend a couple weeks in this very modern, very stimulating country with friendly people, very expressive people with very rich history and amazing food, and just a really cool place to visit all in all. A lot of beautiful spaces to hang out in, a lot of cafes, and I've had a great time. So to the people of Korea that I've interacted with, and just in general, I thank you, and thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and hopefully stay out of the rain, but don't be afraid to embrace some discomfort sometimes. All right, peace out. Have a great day.